Hey guys, Ethan here. I want to talk a little bit about financing new equipment as a new business and a young man with limited credit. I grew up, credit cards are bad. If you're young, please get a credit card and spend 10% of your limit every month and pay it off and be good about it and get some credit history, because I didn't do that, and it makes financing things incredibly difficult, even with a large sum of money to put down as a down payment. So anyways, that's for my young guys out there. I try to make this recommendation to my siblings as well. Credit cards aren't all bad. Just use them responsibly. Okay, beyond that, why did I buy a new excavator with no business really? First of all, I live at home with my parents, so it's not as much of a risk to me as it is to the majority of other people out there. My life is relatively paid for, and I'm very appreciative of that. It allows me to take some bigger risks in business. Beyond that point, you have used equipment is in this current market, it's holding too much value for what it really is. So in my particular situation, I had $30,000 in cash. That was my budget to buy a machine. I wanted to buy something, 8 to 10,000 pounds, and ideally a Kubota. I like the Kubota machines. I like my Kubota dealer. Parts aren't too bad to get, and I've always liked working on their tractors. So that is what I was shopping for, and $30,000 in today's market will pretty much get you like an open cab, 8 to 10,000 pound machine with 2,000 hours on it that needs pins and bushings and a set of tracks on it at the minimum. And that's not, any of the other repairs you might want. It's not a cosmetically beautiful machine. It's just what you can get your hands on. A lot of these are rentals in this price range, so that's why I didn't want to buy a used machine. It just seems like new is a better value. And some people might not understand that, but to sink $30,000 into a machine, that's a lot of money. But then again, it's still not a great machine for that money. So what I did is I started searching for, I wanted to buy a new Kubota. Likely I would have bought a KX040, because you can get all sorts of options on that machine, dual auxiliaries, the 6-way blade on the dozer or on the excavator, hydraulic quick coupler for like $2,000. The KX040 is a really fantastic machine if they would have financed one for me. And a KX040 is probably like $80,000 MSRP with all the options spec'd out on it that I would have ordered it with, and I had $30,000 to put down on the machine. Now I also inquired about financing on like a KX71 or like a U35, I believe, which is a size smaller machine, and roughly like a $60,000 price tag. So I was willing to put like half down on one of these machines, and Kubota would not finance me with $30,000 down, and they wouldn't finance me even with a cosigner. Now I didn't want a cosigner. I didn't want to have to wrap my parents up in my financial kind of gambling, even though I know I can make my payment with what I do for work now. I didn't want them to have to be tied up in that. But Kubota would not touch me because my credit is only really like a year long. Like a year ago I got credit cards, and I have 2 of them because the bank said, they need 3 sources of consistent income to finance you for a mortgage. So basically that was it with Kubota, and I was super bummed out because I wanted a new machine. I could see it was a better value for what I value in a machine. I want something that's reliable, and I don't have to work on it all the time, and I'm not going to be stuck replacing like $1,000 hydraulic cooler on a machine, that has 2,000 hours. For me, it's a better value to buy a new machine, put 2,000 hours on it, and sell it for like half of what I paid for it new. Like, that's a better value, because you can bill out those 2,000 hours worry-free, or you should be able to if you take care of your machine. So anyways, my next stop was John Deere. I didn't have super high hopes for John Deere, maybe a little bit higher hopes than Kubota. And I walked into John Deere. I wanted to buy a 35G, because that was the comparable to the KX040, relatively. They don't line up perfectly with each other, but walked into John Deere, give them the same story. I have $30,000 to put down. I would like to do it without a co-signer, and I want a new machine. I know a new machine is a better value for me in business. So John Deere Financial denied me. But the interesting thing was that the John Deere dealer was able to push my financing through. So I don't exactly know how this all works, but the owner of the dealership, or the head of the franchise of dealerships, basically pushed the financing through. So they are taking the risk on me if I default on the loan. So if I default on the loan, it's their responsibility to repossess the machine. Any loss that they might take of value is all on them. But thankfully, they pushed that financing through on the 35G. Sticker on that was gonna be, the machine that they had on the lot was like 65. But what I wanted would have been like 72 for a 35G long arm, enclosed cab, and the angle blade. So pretty much all the options, and a couple buckets, a hydraulic thumb, all the stuff you need. So again, I was putting nearly half down on that. So I think that's why they pushed it through, and they would only allow me a 60-month term. They wouldn't allow me to draw it out to 72 months. John Deere will offer you on the construction equipment right now. And I'm also paying interest. It's not 0%. It's like 7% interest. So it's not terrible, but it is some money in interest. So anyways, thankfully John Deere was a huge help with that. And I try to tell all the other young guys that are trying to get started, and they're committed enough to buy a new machine, talk to John Deere. I don't know if other John Deere dealers will do this, but thankfully mine did for me, and they've probably earned my business they might have earned my business for the lifetime. So that's probably what they saw in me as a customer, is that nobody's willing to help me. If somebody helps me, I can see the value in them helping me to get started. So no, I didn't shop around and look for a bunch of different brands of excavators to really see which one I liked the best. I would have liked to look at maybe a Takeuchi or like a Volvo machine. I hear Caterpillar's really expensive, but yeah, I didn't really shop around much. My criteria was finding a machine that I can look at parts diagrams online, and that puts a ton of machines totally out of the running. If you can't look at parts diagrams online, that's what I look at to work on things, to order parts. I don't want to have to go to the dealer and describe the problem to them, to have to get a part number. Just doesn't really interest me. But I ended up making the mistake of sitting in the 50G, which is a step larger than the 35G. And ended up buying a 50G. They still financed me for that, thankfully. It was a ton of money. I was pretty worried about it at first, because a 50G with all the options on it after sales tax, you know, their dealer prep fee, which is basically them installing the thumb on it and then manually setting the hydraulic relief valve for the excavator so that you don't bend the thumb cylinder if the pressure's set too high. You know, after I paid for all that, it was like $95,000. So a super expensive machine. A lot of people don't understand the barrier to entry and they want you to work for super cheap. Some customers totally value your services though. So really, this is just a video for people who are getting started and struggling to get financing. Again, my situation is just I have good credit. My credit score is over 700, but I don't have a long history, you know, so it's really hard to prove that I'm gonna take care of my bills with only a year of history. But thankfully John Deere trusted me. So for any of you young guys in my shoes or young girls that see the value in a new machine and you're struggling to get financing, you know, but you have some cash to put down on a down payment, you know, talk to John Deere. They really helped me out. And another thing about John Deere, don't go straight to the John Deere construction dealers, because the profit margin at the construction dealers is significantly higher than it is at an ag dealer. And for most guys getting started in excavating, you're probably not going to be looking at a piece of equipment that is outside of John Deere's compact construction equipment lineup, which an ag dealer is allowed to sell. Typically, or I don't know about typically, but in my area, there's, you know, I don't know, 6 green mark dealerships in my area, and only one of those dealerships, there's only one salesman, like in Michigan, for construction equipment. So I had to drive an hour away to talk to him, but I saved like over $10,000 just by buying from the ag dealer instead of the construction dealer. Now I know that means, you know, I'm probably not going to get the ag dealer out to replace a hydraulic line for free, but I work on my own stuff anyways. So but just another thing, if you're buying a John Deere piece of construction equipment, pretty much any compact track loader is going to fall under compact construction equipment. Wheel loaders up to a certain size, and then they'll sell you the mini excavators, of course. I'm not exactly sure about everything else, but just another quick tip I'd throw in there for you. So anyways guys, best of luck out there. Be safe in your investments. Don't go buy something if you don't know that you can't pay the bills. You know, for me, if it sits around and it's a toy for me, I can still make the payment on it. Of course, that's not ideal, but if that's what it came down to, I can still afford my payment, and it's not going to be getting repossessed. So anyways guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope this helps somebody out. If you got questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to you. But anyways, thanks for watching.